Typhoon Krathon slams into southern Taiwan, bringing heavy rain and winds of up to 220 kilometers an hour.
I'm in Kaohsiung, a city home to nearly 2.7 million people. Typhoon Krathon has brought this city to a standstill.
אנחנו נגיב. אנחנו יודעים לאתר מטרות חשובות. אנחנו יודעים גם לפגוע בצורה מדויקת ועוצמתית.
The Middle East is on edge as the world awaits Israel's promised retaliation on Iran. Plus, meet the Chinese pro wrestlers fighting to make a living doing what they love. Welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yvonne Young. A deadly typhoon is bringing heavy rain and extreme winds to Taiwan. Typhoon Krathon made landfall in Kaohsiung in the south of Taiwan this afternoon, bringing record winds of 220 kilometers an hour. It's expected to move northwards and be over central Taiwan on Friday. The storm has already killed 2 people and injured more than 120 and knocked out power to tens of thousands of homes in the south. In a moment, we'll look at how the decision is made to call it Typhoon Day, and we'll take a look at areas in the north already feeling the impact of Krathon. But first, let's go over to Rick Glauer, who's rejoining us from Kaohsiung. Rick, you were there when the storm hit. How's it looking now?
Well, the storm now moving away from Kaohsiung, wind and rain becoming noticeably less in the last couple of hours, but it's left behind a lot of flooding in the city. This flooding here is just one of 1,000 disaster incidents reported around the city. That's because the core, the very center of Typhoon Krathon, hit Kaohsiung with that strong eye wall with those huge winds of up to 200 and more than 200 kilometers an hour. They brought down trees, ripped parts off buildings, brought down telephone poles and traffic lights. The government all day urging people to stay inside to minimize injuries, but we know that there's been around 100 in the city itself, injured people. And we've spent the day reporting on a city that doesn't often face down a typhoon just like this one. A city under siege from a deadly storm. Typhoon Krathon makes landfall here in Taiwan's industrial port city of Kaohsiung, home to more than 2 million people.
就是买一些那个物资啊，先把它放在家里面，以便不时之需。
今天就风雨就很大了，前几天还好啦，担心就是会海水会倒灌啊。
Most typhoons hit Taiwan from the east, losing strength by the time they reach Kaohsiung on the southern coast. Typhoon Krathon is on an unusual trajectory, coming in from the southwest to strike here directly. First time in decades. Gusts have been reaching more than 200 kilometers per hour near the harbour front of Kaohsiung, a record for this city. Extreme winds have been bringing down trees and traffic lights, and heavy rain has turned roads into rivers. The city government has closed schools and businesses here for a 3rd day. Evacuation centres have been opened and emergency messages sent to residents' phones reminding them of the typhoon's destructive power.
高雄市是正处在这个现在风力最强劲的时间，所以也要特别呼吁所有的市民朋友没有必要不要外出。
Krathon has puzzled forecasters, taking a rare path and changing in speed, direction and intensity as it approached the coast. As the storm system heads inland, it is expected to weaken without the ocean to fuel it, leaving Kaohsiung bearing the brunt of this unusual typhoon's power. As the storms died down, we've seen more and more people coming out on the streets and start the clear-up operation. A lot of people trying to move debris away from the drains to help floodwaters like this recede. For many people here, as the night draws in, they hope that the worst is over and that the recovery can begin.
Thanks for the update, Rick. That was Rick Glauer live for us from Kaohsiung. Krathon is also making an impact in the north of the country, with residents seeing landslides and flooding last night. Our reporter Tiffany Wong was in New Taipei, where crews were trying to clean up the damage while preparing for more later.
Well, the rain is coming down even stronger here in New City, where cleaning crews are trying to clean up this landslide, digging through mud and trees that fell last night. And this road has been blocked for a few hours now. Earlier today, the new Taipei City Mayor Ho Yo-yi came through to inspect the site, which is behind a vocational school, trying to determine if the buildings and campus are safe for students to come tomorrow.
瑞安高工后面的教室，因为离边坡很近，所以明天如果真的要上课的时候，我们一定要在抢灾以后，我们也要考虑到学生的安全。
Now, the city is still expecting strong winds and rain over the next couple of days as this typhoon holds over Taiwan. And they say they're warning the people to take precautions, try to stay indoors if possible, and they'll try to make the best decisions to keep the most people safe.
That was Tiffany Wang reporting from New Taipei City. A fire has torn through a hospital in southern Pingtung County, killing 9 people. The fire broke out in the electrical room just as Typhoon Krathon passed over the region, adding to the difficulty of putting the fire out. The cause of the blaze is still unclear. The more than 300 other patients in the hospital have been evacuated to other medical facilities. Now, as we mentioned, businesses across the country have closed for a second day. John Van Trieste takes a look at what it means for owners.
It's been a painful 2 days for business owners like Wang Baochuang. Though he's managed to keep his claw machine arcade open, there's no one playing for the prizes inside. It's just drizzling right now, but Wang knows that even typhoons that might not seem too bad can turn very bad very quickly. A 1977 typhoon wrecked this city, killing 37. And even the last typhoon to pass by in July hit hard.
要维修，像上次稍微风雨那么大，这一台就是坏掉了，被那个雨渗透进去，那个电池板就会潮湿，潮湿就是坏掉。我们这一次，上次有那种状况发生，所以这一次我们就要提早把它准备好。
Dance studio owner Nana Lee and her kids are the only people out and about in this neighborhood. She too faces losses from the lack of business and the added stress of keeping the children entertained. But again, people in this city know not to underestimate how quickly a typhoon can turn.
台风假，然后小朋友还蛮喜欢玩雨水的，对，就让他们清静一下也没关系。
现在风雨状况怎么样？
还好。
会担心之后会变大？
可能晚一点会变大。对，照上一次的案例来说的话，应该是。
Autumn typhoons are just a part of life in this part of the world. Business owners like these know to expect them, and this typhoon season at least has been relatively quiet. As they know from destructive storms in the past, things could certainly be much worse. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Cities and counties around Taiwan have declared a second typhoon day in a row, with schools and many businesses take the day off. But the decision to call or not call a typhoon day can prove to be politically controversial. And to learn more about the politics of typhoon days, our reporter Chris Gorin spoke with Taipei-based lawyer Michael Fahey.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a typhoon day in Taiwan?
Well, for government workers, a typhoon day is a mandatory day off. But for employees in the private sector, it's a safety precaution for employers. Whether or not to have a typhoon day is decided by the individual mayor or county commissioner in the particular jurisdiction. I think there's a big misunderstanding among many people in Taiwan that typhoon days are a legal holiday. I would just emphasize they're not. And your employer can call you in, and you may not get paid overtime for that. So there are a lot of very unhappy TSMC employees because apparently they're all working on this typhoon day just like they've worked on every other typhoon day for the last 30 years. But it is something that does affect relations between employers and employees because it goes against what today's employees expect.
So are there any constituencies or groups that are opposed to taking typhoon days?
Absolutely. Employers, small business owners will be unhappy about typhoon days getting called. There are all kinds of wild estimates about how much a typhoon day might cost an employer. Some people are saying up to $1 billion a day. There are other people saying that a factory with 1,000 workers might pay $3 to $5 million in overtime on a typhoon day. So they're not going to be happy about that. And then small business owners have rent to pay, so they're not going to be happy about typhoon days.
So then the decision on whether or not to have a typhoon day can actually be controversial?
Absolutely. There's probably 3 different ways that they can be politically controversial. The first way is that employees today really look forward to these typhoon days. And if your city doesn't get a typhoon holiday, but the neighboring or the next one over county or city does, there's going to be a lot of disappointed voters out there. And then there's more direct issues. Here in Taipei, a lot of people don't have street parking or a parking lot to use, so they park out on these extensive parking lots past the flood walls near the rivers. Taipei City closed the gates to the parking lots earlier than New Taipei City did. And right now the Geelong River is pretty high, so there's a lot of car owners with cars out there that they can't retrieve who are upset. And if their cars get flooded, they're going to be unhappy voters. And finally, there's another way that it can become politically controversial. It has happened in the past that the mayor of a city has called the typhoon holiday on the morning of the day, so they delayed and didn't do it at 8 o'clock at night like it's normally done. And that totally disrupts people's child care and work arrangements and that sort of thing.
And that was our reporter Chris Gorin speaking to Taipei-based lawyer Michael Fahey. The Middle East is on tenterhooks as the region waits for Israel's response to Iran's missile attack on the country. As Israel vows retaliation, Iran is warning their next hit will be stronger, increasing fears of an all-out war. Rosie Greninger reports.
Israelis in the southern town of Jeddah inspect the damage around them, caused by Iran's unprecedented missile attack. 180 ballistic missiles were launched by Tehran, targeting military bases in Israel. Retaliation for Israeli strikes against Iranian allies Hezbollah and Hamas that killed the leaders of both militant groups, Ismail Haniyeh of Hamas and Hezbollah's Hassan Nasrallah. Iran says they now consider the matter closed, but while on a visit to Qatar, the Iranian president said that would change should Israel strike again.
ما مجبور به پاسخ شدیم و اگر بخواهد طور دیگه عمل کند پاسخی محکمتر خواهیم داد و این چیزی است که جمهوری اسلامی بهش پایبند است.
Despite the warning, Israel continued heavy airstrikes on what they claim are Hezbollah targets in the Lebanese capital Beirut. And its troops continued their ground incursion into southern Lebanon, attempting to eliminate the threat of the militant group to northern Israel. Residents there have been displaced by the conflict for months. The Israeli military said 8 of its soldiers were killed in the fighting. Israel has also ramped up its attacks against other Iran-backed militants in Yemen and Syria. And the country has made clear they plan to retaliate directly against Iran for the ballistic missile attack.
אנחנו נגיב. אנחנו יודעים לאתר מטרות חשובות. אנחנו יודעים גם לפגוע בצורה מדויקת ועוצמתית.
In April, when it was first targeted by Iranian missiles, Israel responded with a single precise strike to take out an Iranian air defense system. That was considered a limited response, and there are fears that this time the Israelis will hit harder, with some officials pushing to target nuclear facilities in Iran. But when questioned about it, one of Israel's strongest backers, US President Joe Biden, opposed such a strike.
We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
But any action against Iran will make diplomatic efforts in the Middle East harder, pushing back the possibility of reaching a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. The ongoing conflict there, stoking the tensions between Israel and Iran.
We are coming closer, if you'd like to say, to a full-scale regional war, mainly between Israel and Iran. let's not forget that Israel had repeatedly considered this whole fight. It's basically fighting Iran proxies. And on multiple occasions, Israeli officials have been saying that they need to end this once and for all.
It's not clear what action Israel will take or when, but what is certain is that the country is preparing a response, and it has the capabilities to strike anywhere, leaving much of the Middle East in fear. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Israel's foreign minister says he will ban UN Chief António Guterres from entering the country over his response to Iran's strikes on Israel. Guterres issued a statement following Iran's attack condemning the broadening of the Middle East conflict with escalation after escalation, but he did not mention Iran specifically. Israel says he failed to unequivocally condemn the attack and called him a stand on the history of the UN. Coming up after the break, a pygmy hippo has taken over the internet, and now Moo Deng mania is bringing businesses across Bangkok. Stay tuned.
人生的话，你发现说，我们大部分都是爱美。
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性，
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
There's so many things that I wish the world could see.
It is amazing to watch this captain maneuver this giant ship.
It takes 3 days to cook this. The flavor is unbelievable, incredible.
And it's my turn to make something inspired by Chef Gore. It's going to be quite a challenge.
Can you imagine that?
It's surreal. Yes, so real.
I can't give up. I got some ass kicking to do.
Nice move. We're pushing each other to explore and experiment in new, different ways.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
很多时候是我们眼睛看不到的地方。
We might encounter mishaps and mistakes along the way. But at the end of the day,
it just transmits something straight from the heart. Yes.
Cheers.
Bon appetit.
It is about the fun, and it's about the glamour, and it's also about something much deeper than that.
Sometimes you just gotta seize the opportunity. You just gotta do it.
Have a place where you're appreciated for you exactly as you are, and where you can shine and be seen.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Police in Taiwan are reporting an uptick in cases involving so-called zombie drugs. Taipei and New Taipei police confiscated large amounts of 2 designer drugs in separate busts on Tuesday. They include human and animal tranquilizers. When vaporized and inhaled, both drugs have strong trance-like effects, which has led to the term zombie drugs. A former transport minister in Singapore has been sentenced to a year in prison for bribery, as is Warren pleaded guilty to charges of accepting more than $300,000 in gifts from business people while in office. It's the first jailing of a former cabinet member in the city-state known for clean governance. A World War II bomb has exploded at an airport in southeast Japan. The blast near the runway at Miyazaki Airport disrupted nearly 90 flights. Investigators say the U.S. Air Force dropped the bomb in 1945 At the time, the facility was used by Japan's kamikaze units. Nearly 50 aircraft were sent on suicide missions from the site during the Battle of Okinawa. China's pro wrestling circuit has been fighting for recognition and financial stability for years. But with new promotions attracting fresh audiences in one of the world's biggest markets, that may soon change. Bryn Thomas reports.
Chinese pro wrestler Wang Tao says American actor Mickey Rourke inspired him to run away from home at 17.
我是在很小的时候，大概5、6年级的时候，通过电影频道看了一部叫《摔跤王》的电影，然后从此就迷上了摔跤，然后一直就是在反反复复在上学的时候有去看摔跤的一些视频和比赛。
After years of training and some serious injuries, Wang Tao now holds the title of a Belt and Road champion. But like the wrestler Rourke plays in the movie, he still struggles to make ends meet. He takes side gigs to keep his head above water in China's small but committed scene.
之前就是通过除了训练和比赛，其他的时间就会去做一些兼职啊，包括我什么服务员什么各种工作都干过。因为毕竟现在在国内，靠摔跤比赛去挣钱，去维持自己的生活特别难。
Part sport and part entertainment, pro wrestling is known as a stereotypically American spectacle, one that cultural critics call hetero drag. Athletes take on hyper-masculine personas to fight epic battles in good versus evil stories. Their colorful characters, makeup, costumes, and endless melodrama create something akin to a soap opera for teenage boys. And with each fight choreographed and the winner predetermined, fans are guaranteed a spectacle. But despite its success in the US, pro wrestling still struggles to find audiences in China.
中国的市场跟外国的市场是完全不一样的，比如卖门票的赛事啊，什么各方面的。在中国是一个很庞大的一个市场，但是我们还没有完全的打开。我们也现在一直在致力于做这件事情，怎么样打开中国的市场。
Despite the challenges, pro wrestlers in China, both foreign and local, are determined to push forward, traveling across the country to events like this one in Shanghai, organized by Middle Kingdom Wrestling, VMKW.
China is obviously such a large country, and with so many of the fans fragmented, but definitely, I would say like we have more followers, more people are paying attention to us than ever before. The dream would be that more people can make a living from wrestling. You can see a lot of people here. This is what they're good at. And I think they deserve to be able to make a living at what they're good at.
Wang Tao would welcome the income, but is not motivated by it. For the moment, the chance to pursue his dreams, and in this case, win the Belt and Road Championship, is enough.
金腰带继续挂在了我的肩上，非常感谢 MKW 提供了这次比赛的机会，让我能够站在擂台上去向大家证明我的实力，让大家证明我的梦想、我的坚持是无懈可击的。
Kaohsiung and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thailand's famous pygmy hippo has sparked a wave of Moo Deng mania, giving local businesses a significant boost. Our reporter Sunny Chi has the details.
With her pink cheeks, natural cuteness, and irresistible charm, Moo Deng is taking social media by storm. The pygmy hippo from Thailand has helped the Kaohsiung Open Zoo generate over $500,000 in ticket sales since September, boosting local businesses in a wave known as Moo Deng mania. In Bangkok, one cafe has been slammed with orders since it began creating hippo-shaped delights.
ตั้งแต่มีเค้กน้องหมูเด้งเข้ามาก็คือเราไม่ได้หลับไม่ได้นอนเลยครับก็คือมานั่งทำน้องหมูเด้งทุกวันจนถึงเช้าเลยแล้วก็สามารถสร้างรายได้เป็นหลักแสนได้เลยภายในระยะเวลา10 วันนะครับผม
And it's not just the cake's cuteness. Customers also love the taste.
ก็อร่อยดีค่ะเนื้อเค้กแบบว่านิ่มๆแล้วก็มีซอสสตรอเบอรี่อร่อยค่ะ
Meanwhile, other businesses have seized the opportunity to profit from Moo Deng mania, including the booming blind box art toy market in Thailand.
เราก็เลยโอ้โหตอนนี้แบบเหมือนโดนน้องหมูเด้งสะกดจิตเราก็เลยท อยากทำเบบี้ฮิปโปอ่ะเหมือนหมูเด้งอย่างเงี้ยเป็นเวอร์ชั่นของตัวเองเราก็เลยทำออกมาเรารู้สึกว่าตอนเนี้ยกระแสของกล่องสุ่มในประเทศไทยอ่ะเป็นกระแสที่ดีเราก็เลยทำมาให้คนสุ่มเลยแล้วกันเราก็ตั้งชื่อเขาเลยหมูจุ่ม
Thanks to Moo Deng's charm, the artist says sales of mystery boxes shot to over 1,000 within a week of the product's launch. That's a figure that typically takes an entire month to reach. Now, with Moo Deng's influence extending beyond the digital world to consumers overseas, she's boosting businesses from cosmetics to fashion, bringing significant benefits to her country in more ways than one. Howard Zhang and Sunny Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's horror comedy Dead Talent Society has topped the Golden Horse Awards nominations list with 11 nods. This year's awards, known as Taiwan's Oscars, received a record number of submissions from Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and other Chinese-speaking countries. A Thai actor also made history, becoming the first person from Thailand to be nominated in the Best Actor category. Results will be announced in Taipei on November 23rd. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, we leave you with this footage of Typhoon Krathon as the storm hovers over southern Taiwan. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.